So thank you very much for joining. For those that were not there, Mathieu Giret, attaché for science at the French Institute in Finland, and with Mats Gillenberg, permanent secretary of the Finnish Society of Sciences and Letters, we propose this information webinar on European programs that may be relevant not only for extending a bilateral collaboration, but also for the full purpose of developing that bilateral collaborations. And so we have prepared the webinar with different actors in Finland and in France. We have the French Ministry of Research that is represented, the Erasmus Plus France agency that is represented, and as part of the speaker, we also have EduFi in Finland and the Academy of Finland. So the idea originates from the Maupertuis program, which is a bilateral collaboration program for science and academy between France and Finland. It's a very nice collaboration with the Finnish Society of Sciences and Letters, not only because of the number of applications, but also because we are successful at selecting, at proposing an appropriate success rate of about 1/3. And the program is also very balanced between the mobilities between France, Finland, and Finland, France. So that's also a reason for being happy from the program. And so as I just mentioned, the idea of the webinar is to propose a focus on a few programs of Horizon Europe and Erasmus Plus that may be relevant for the purpose of the French-Finnish bilateral collaboration. And before we start, and I let my colleagues from France and Finland to present those lines, I would like to give the floor to Mats Gillenberg, permanent secretary of the Finnish Society of Sciences and Letters, and which is the co-founder of the program with the French Institute in Finland.
Thank you very much, Mathieu. So, good afternoon, everybody. I wish you very welcome to this webinar arranged within the framework of the Maupertuis program, the bilateral program between Finland and France. Mathieu already said the basic things about this program, so I won't say much more about that, only that it was launched in 2017 and it is now running successfully in its 8th year. The name of Pierre-Louis Maupertuis is very apt for this collaboration, because he was participating in the first really scientific collaboration between France and Finland in 1736. Then Finland was still part of, or an integral part of Sweden, and the main collaborators of this expedition to Lapland in 1736 were Pierre-Louis Maupertuis and Anders Celsius from the Swedish Academy of Sciences. Celsius, you probably know very well. He was the inventor of the thermometer that we use now, but also an astronomer. And the idea of this expedition was to determine the size or shape of Earth. And Maupertuis held, according to Newton, that the Earth is oblate. And whereas he had a rival, Cassini, who said that it looked more like a American football standing on its top. And of course, Maupertuis was right and Cassini was wrong. There were also other Finnish scientists in this expedition. For instance, Anders Hellant was in the expedition all the time, but he probably did not measure the length of the meridian so efficiently, because after the expedition, both Maupertuis and Celsius wrote reports to the king about the king Louis XV and the Swedish king about the results of this expedition. But Anders Helland wrote a report to the Swedish Academy about new methods of fishing in the Lapland rivers. Okay, so but he spent his time somehow. A few words about the Society of Sciences and Letters in Finland. It's the oldest academy in our country. It was funded in 1838, so approximately 100 years after Maupertuis expedition. So I won't say more, only emphasize the suitability of this name Maupertuis for our joint program. And I wish you now a very productive webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you probably have already a sense of what is the Maupertuis program. It's mainly for, let's say, small grants for mobility from the stage of doctoral student to more experienced researchers. And it is open to all disciplines. It happens once a year, and it is open not only for scientific, purely scientific purpose, but it's also open to projects that aim to develop a more institutionalized collaboration between laboratories or home institutions. And the next deadline will be in September 2024. So I encourage you to use that opportunity if you have a French collaborator or Finnish collaborator. And otherwise, there are also other opportunities that can be complemented by Maupertuis and that will be presented today. And I propose to start with Eugenia Shadlova, French Ministry of Higher Education and Research, national contact point for Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, and with Paula Leskinen from the Research Council of Finland, also national contact point for the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, and that will present some programs of Horizon Europe that can be relevant for the bilateral perspective.
Thank you, Mathieu, and thank you for your attention to the topic of this webinar. Indeed, Maupertuis is a very good opportunity for bilateral cooperation. But today we wanted to present different tools and different programs that not are all purposely designed for French-Finnish bilateral cooperation, but it may be also good opportunities for funding for either your common research or education projects. So my name is Eugenia Shadlova. I'm the French national contact point for the IMSCA, and so I'm here also with my colleague from Finland, Paula Leskinen. So we will, the two of us will present the MSCA program, and we decided to present two different tools, doctoral networks and postdoctoral fellowships. So I will first present the doctoral networks, and then I will let the floor to Paula to present postdoctoral fellowships. So now I will share my screen. Can you see my presentation in the presentation mode?
Yes, we can see it. That's
now, yeah. Okay, perfect. The MSCA Doctoral Network is the first tool we're going to present you. And so they are part of the program, Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions, which is a part of Horizon Europe. So what is Horizon Europe? Probably most of you are familiar with it, but just to say a few words in case you're not, it is the main framework program of the European Union for research and innovation with a total budget of 95.5 billion euro for the period 2021-2027. So here you can see the structure of Horizon Europe. It is structured in three vertical pillars. Pillar 1, excellent science. Pillar 2, global challenges and industrial competitiveness. And Pillar 3, innovative Europe. So Pillar 1 includes the European Research Council, that is probably the most known program of Horizon Europe. Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions that we are going to present to you today, and research infrastructure. Pillar 2 includes thematic calls structured in 6 different clusters that you can see here. So it will be calls for proposals with already defined topics. And the pillar 3 will support innovation with specific calls of European Innovation Council, European Institute for Innovation and Technology, and also the scheme European Innovation Ecosystems. And there is also the vertical pillar, widening participation and strengthening the European research area with different tools dedicated to countries in regions that are less active in Horizon Europe. And so Finland is not part of those countries, and France neither, except the French overseas territories that are now eligible for this tool. But today we could not cover all the part of Horizon Europe, so we decided to speak only about Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions, which is a bottom-up program. So it's relevant to all thematic research areas. And the total budget of the MSCA program is 6 billion euro for the period 2021-2027. So just some key features of the MSCA program is that this program supports research, but also training. And a researcher's career is in the heart of this program. So the projects that you will prepare should keep in mind that the key feature of the MSCA program are the researcher skills, training, and career development. It is a bottom-up project, so which means that any the projects in any scientific area may be proposed to these calls, which makes it also very attractive. It supports international, intersectoral, and interdisciplinary mobility of researchers, and it is actually the most open to international cooperation tool of Horizon Europe, as there are different possibilities to make also participate countries outside European Union. The MSCA program also promotes attractive working conditions and employment. It promotes structuring effect on organizations in terms of researcher practices and training and working conditions. And it encourages a collaboration with industry and SMEs. The MSCA program includes 5 actions: doctoral networks, postdoctoral fellowships, staff exchanges, co-fund, and MSCA and citizens. And so today we will present the 2 of those actions, which are probably the most popular and most attractive. So doctoral networks will support, as its name make understand, a doctoral training. So what are doctoral networks? Doctoral networks are the call for proposals of the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions that will support the projects, multi-beneficiaries projects, aiming to set up doctoral trainee programs, which should be international, intersectoral, and interdisciplinary in the frame of a common research and innovation project. What does it mean? It means that a consortium of several research organizations and universities will propose a doctoral training program linked to a common research and innovation project. And so it has 3 different implementation modes that the proposals will choose when they decide to apply for this call for proposal. So one is a doctoral network regular, which will propose trainee in academia and industry, doctoral trainee in academia or industry, and 2 more specific schemes. One is joint doctorates, where joint diplomas, joint or double degrees should be proposed by the participants to recruited PhD students. And industrial doctorates with an important emphasis of on the participation of the non-academic sector in doctoral training. So the idea is involve in a more important way the industrial actors in doctoral training and encourage doctoral training programs where each doctoral candidate will spend at least 50% of his or her time in the non-academic sector. And for those of you who were familiar with the doctoral networks before Horizon Europe, now since 2021, there was a change in participation rules, and these three implementation modes will compete within the same scientific panel. So, which means that if you choose one or another of those implementation modes, it will not have an impact on the success rate of your proposal. So because they will compete all together within the scientific panels. So now let's see more in detail what is the doctoral network project like. So this project will be proposed by an international consortium of organizations from academic and non-academic sector. For example, universities, research centers, but it may also be enterprises, associations, or museums or hospitals. All kind of non-academic actors are also strongly encouraged to participate. And there will be two different categories of participants. One of them are called beneficiaries. So beneficiaries will recruit doctoral candidates, and associated partners. So the associated partners will not recruit doctoral candidates, but they will participate to the training program. And also they can host doctoral candidates for secondments. I will explain a bit later what it means. And to be eligible, the consortium must include a minimum 3 independent legal entities located in 3 EU member states or Horizon Europe associated countries, and each of them will recruit at least 1 doctoral candidate. So it is minimum. Usually in a average consortium, there will be about 6 to 10 beneficiaries. It's not recommended to have more than 10 beneficiaries to keep the size of the consortium manageable. And yet you may have associated partners with no maximum limit and no minimum limit. And it's indeed also very interesting to make participate different associated partners, as the associated partners may be located in any country of the world. So which is a possibility to give a really international dimension to your project. And so both beneficiaries and associated partners may come from academic and non-academic sector. And for joint doctorates and industrial doctorates, there will be more or less the similar rules for consortium, with an additional rule for joint doctorates where at least 3 beneficiaries must be entitled to deliver PhD degrees, and they engage themselves to deliver joint or double PhD degrees during the program to the doctoral candidates that they will recruit. And in the industrial doctorates, typically it is expected that there are more industrial partners, but they do not necessarily have to be beneficiaries. So you may have an industrial doctorate with only academic beneficiaries, and industrial partners are just associated partners if they prefer. But they may also, of course, be beneficiaries if they want to recruit doctoral students. Just now an overview of participation rules. So each project will last up to 48 months, with an exception for joint doctorates where the maximum duration is 60 months. The duration of each doctoral contract will be from 3 to 36 months, and it's extended to 48 months for joint doctorate. Each beneficiary will recruit minimum 1 doctoral candidate and host and supervise them in their premises or at linked associated partner. And there is a possibility to have a unique multiple recruitment, which means that if you have the same student who will spend a part of his or her time at beneficiary 1 and another part at beneficiary 2, you may decide to recruit this student by only the beneficiary one, or you may offer him or her 18 months contract with the beneficiary one and 18 months contract with beneficiary two, according to what is more convenient to you, your consortium, and of course the PhD student. And there is also this possibility to have secondments. Secondments means a research stay at another partner, the main employer. And it is a supervised research stay where the doctoral candidate will have a dedicated space and a supervisor. And this optional secondment must last maximum 1/3 of the total duration of a doctoral contract. And it may take place in any country of the world, of course, at the partner or beneficiary of the project. And funding, which is very important. The funding will cover the salaries of doctoral candidates, full 100%. And also institutional costs, which will include research, training, and networking costs to organize, for example, training for PhD students, or to different network-wide events, meetings, to cover travel costs or consumables, etc. And also the management costs to manage the network. And the funding will cover a maximum of 540 person months of doctoral candidates, which correspond to 15 doctoral candidates recruited for 36 months each for the all consortium. Who are the eligible researchers? So the funding will cover the salary of doctoral candidates. It will not cover the salary of the supervisors. So the doctoral candidates will be recruited in the frame of the project, in the frame of an open, merit-based, and transparent recruitment process that you must put in place. And the definition of doctoral candidate is a researcher who does not have yet a doctoral degree at the date of recruitment. These researchers may be of any nationality, and as the mobility, international mobility, is encouraged within the MSA program, to be eligible, they must respect the mobility rule, which requires that the candidate must not have resided or carried out his or her main activity in the country of the recruiting beneficiary for more than 12 months in 36 months immediately before the recruitment date. And it's also mandatory that each recruited doctoral student is actually enrolled in a doctoral program in at least one member state or associated country. So now a few words about eligible countries. So today we are here in a French-Finnish webinar, but this program is open to all member states and also associated countries. And as I mentioned, you need to have to make the consortium eligible, you need to have minimum of 3 legal entities based in 3 different member states or associated countries. So member states, it's easy. So it's 27 EU member state countries. Then associated countries are the countries who signed the association agreement with Horizon Europe. And here you have a not exhaustive list of those countries. But if you go to the link on the bottom of this slide, you will find a list which has been regularly updated to make sure if you have questions about some country to know if it is associated or not. And then all other countries that are not member states and not associated will be considered that as third countries, and third countries may also participate under some conditions. The projects, as I mentioned, it's a bottom-up program, so there is no priority areas or some thematic topics defined. So you are absolutely free to choose the objectives and the topic of your project. And the projects will be evaluated by pairs, by scientific experts in 8 scientific panels. So when you register your proposal, you should choose the panel which is the most relevant to you. And if it's really an interdisciplinary project, you may also choose a dedicated secondary panel for evaluation. So now the funding. The funding is being distributed in the mode of unit costs, which is a simplified approach, which means that these are the flat rates that are defined by the European Commission. It will cover the salary of the recruited researcher, and this salary is divided in living allowance, mobility allowance, and a family allowance for the candidates with a family. So here you can see 3,400 is an amount by month, which corresponds to the gross salary. And this should be multiplied by correction coefficient for the country where the doctoral student will be recruited. And this correction coefficient is 119.5% for Finland and 116.4% for France. So which means that multiplied by this correction coefficient and including also mobility and eventually family allowance, it constitutes quite an attractive salary. And then, of course, you multiply it by the number of person months of the doctoral candidates that you will recruit. And each month of the doctoral candidates implemented will also generate the institutional costs, which are funded also through the flat rates. And you will have 1,600 euro by month by candidate for research, training, and networking contribution, and 1,200 for management and indirect contribution. And so you need just to make an addition of all those flat rates and multiply them by the number of person months and by the number of doctoral candidates that you will recruit to have an estimation of your total budget. It was about rules, and now just a few words about the interest of this scheme. So it's both beneficial for doctoral candidates who will follow an international program with training provided by renowned experts of the field, and with the possibility to make secondments in different countries and in different sectors. So it's clearly very interesting for doctoral candidates, but it's also interesting for participating organizations who will collaborate and exchange their knowledge and work on a common research and innovation projects. This program will train creative, entrepreneurial, innovative, and resilient doctoral candidates able to face current and future challenges, to convert knowledge and ideas into products and services, and achieve sustainable economic and social benefit. So future experts of the area. And this is actually something that you should keep in mind when you prepare a proposal, that the main objective of this project should be actually to train those future experts who will be the future actors of the research area of your project in a few years. These programs also offer training both in research-related skills and in competences for innovation and long-term employability. So you must think in advance with your partners and propose a clear training program, including scientific training and also training in transferable skills, which may be useful for those future doctors in their future career, and particularly in the area of your project. These programs also expose doctoral candidates to academic and non-academic sector for the development of those transferable skills, which is quite interesting for them. And it enhances the cooperation and knowledge transfer between sectors and disciplines. And well, I just tried to figure out the added value for French-Finnish cooperation. And so it would be the possibility to create common doctoral trainee programs in some strategic areas for our both countries, to offer joint or double doctoral degrees that may also remain after the end of the program, strengthen the links between universities and institutions for more sustainable cooperation. And in particular, if your university is a member of a European University Alliance, so it should have some one of objectives to strengthen the links between with the other alliance partners. So EBCIDN is quite a good tool for this. As you actually work on a common research project and propose innovative doctoral trainee with your partners. And finally, it's also a possibility to exchange best practice on how to structure a doctoral trainee, as different countries have their own good practices that may be useful to exchange and that may stay after the end of the project. So now just a few words about the application process. So if you are interested by this tool, to apply, you need to go to the Funding and Tenders portal of the European Commission, to the call page. So here you have the direct link. The proposal template includes it includes the part A with administrative forms and the technical annex, which will be your project. And its maximum size is 34 pages, and it will be divided in 3 parts, which correspond to 3 evaluation criteria, which are excellence, impact, and implementation. And also some additional parts, including the presentation of the network, the participating organizations, and letters of commitment for joint doctorates. So this call for this action, doctoral networks, is quite attractive, which results in quite a competitive success rate that you can see here. At the last call for proposals, it was 15, almost 16%, and it varies from one panel to another because it depends on the number of proposals received each year by each panel. Here you have the timeline for 2024 call. It will open in May with a deadline in November. So if you decide to apply now, you still have quite enough time to prepare a good proposal. And so the first projects will be able to start in July 2024. 25, sorry. And finally, here you have some links and documents in case you are interested and want to apply. So the reference documents to read are the guide for applicant, the EMC award program, and the proposal template that you will find on the call page. You have a link here, and you have also some other useful links. And of course, if you are interested by this tool and would like to participate, please contact the National Contact Point to get more information and to get support for your application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Eugenia, do you want that we take the questions for this program already now, or should we wait the end of the session on Horizon Europe?
Maybe we should take a couple of questions now. Yeah.
So we had one question. It's for doctoral networks. Industrial partners can be as beneficiaries, but what arguments can we advance for them to receive funding? With what basis? Are secondments enough as a justification? You can see the question in the Q&R part, if you wish.
Okay. Well, I think that industrial partners have might have many reasons to participate to this kind of project. So first of all, it's the possibility to train the future specialists, the future doctors, to the skills that may be needed for them. It's also a possibility to host or recruit a doctoral candidate to work on some important topics for them. What arguments can we advance for them to receive funding? Actually, it's it's up to them to decide if they want to be beneficiary. It's absolutely possible. It means that they will recruit a doctoral candidate, and in this case, they will receive funding. If they are associated partner, they do not recruit. It's a more engaging mode of participation, but they still be able to host a doctoral candidate in their premises and to train this doctoral candidate and to participate to the training program. So secondments are enough as justification. I'm not sure, actually, I fully understand your question. Maybe you can turn on your mic and explain it.
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yes, I can
Hello?
hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you for for trying to understand my question. Yeah, actually, the idea is I saw in your presentation that for doctoral networks, I mean, industrial partners can be as beneficiaries. That's right. That means that you have to recruit a doctoral candidate. In other case, if they are associated partners, is it still possible that they receive funding? And is my question about secondments is can we use secondments as justification to ask for funding? You know?
Yeah.
Or
Okay, I understand now.
we have to advance something more. I mean, more eligible for this.
Yeah, okay, I see. Indeed, so it's possible for the industrial partners to just be associated partners, but in this case, they are not automatically eligible for funding, and they need to negotiate with the beneficiaries. So the beneficiaries may decide or not to transfer a part of institutional costs to those associated partners when they cost a student for a secondment. So usually it will be decided for all associated, it will be the same rule for all the associated partners in the same consortium, and you really need to negotiate it on the consortium level. And if you have some specific expenses linked to the hosting of PhD student, it might be an argument. Yes.
Okay, I see. If they are doing, for example, experiments, or there's some kind of expenditures, you know, or something, things like that. Okay. So it will not receive funding directly.
Really, for the sake of time, since we have a very but do not hesitate, maybe just to ask a question in the chat, and Eugenia can answer while we go. Sorry for that, Adi.
No, don't worry.
And
Thank you
after the presentation of Paola's, we will also have the presentation of Flora Thibaudot, who is part of the coordination team of a doctoral network project. So that may also answer some of the questions. So please, Paula, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. As mentioned, my name is Paula Leskinen, and I'm the MSCA NCP. I'm based here at the Research Council of Finland, so Eugenia's colleague. And I will walk you through the basics of the postdoctoral fellowships grant. I'm not getting it into. Is it in presentation mode now? Is that?
Yes, we see your slide.
Okay, good. Well, I think part of what I will tell you overlaps with what was said in the previous presentation. So I think to save time, I'll skim through those bits. So this is, as mentioned, what the key aims of the MSCA program are. And the bit that I'm I'm now going to talk you through is shown here in the blue, so the postdoctoral fellowships, which seeks to support excellent postdoctoral researchers. So an overview on this funding instrument, it's a mono-beneficiary action. So a single, the money goes to a single beneficiary, and its main objectives are to enhance creative and innovative potential, foster excellence, the 3 I's, also mentioned previously. Of course, acquiring and transferring knowledge, and bringing exposure to the non-academic sector, a fundamental contribution to long-term career sustainability. So you get a broader experience background through this. And of course, it increases high impact R&I output. So excellent researchers becoming better at working on excellent work. It's a bottom-up scheme, as with doctoral networks, so it's open to all scientific fields. And I won't talk about the Euratom, but if you're interested in that, I can share more, then get in touch. Thank you. So it's divided into 2 types. There's the European Fellowship and the Global Fellowship. This is just to let you know, and of course in the Finland-France cooperation context, the European Fellowship is the relevant part. So in short, you can go from a European member state or associated country or a third country to a European member state or associated country. There are 2 optional schemes related to this, which is the non-academic placement of a maximum of 6 months or a secondment worldwide for up to a third of the fellowship duration. And the total duration of the European Fellowship is 12 to 24 months, so 1-2 years. Yes, well, now I talked through my next slide, so I'll just jump through to the final bullet, which tells you about the costs that the grant covers. So there's the researcher's salary, the costs for the research, training, and career development, and the costs for the host institution. And a breakdown of how this goes is shown here. So it's quite a generous grant. And again, as Eugenia mentioned, there are the country correction coefficients. So depending on living expenses in a country, then the amount of money you get is modified depending. So that's as shown here at the bottom, how they go for Finland and France. I'll jump through to eligibility. So who can apply? As mentioned, any nationality, an applicant is eligible. The applicant must be in possession of a doctorate degree at the date of the call deadline. And the way this is defined in the fellowship is that it is it's an unconditional PhD defense. So the PhD is complete even if you don't have the actual official paper. The mobility rule is that the researcher can't have resided or carried out their main activity in the country of the beneficiary for more than 12 months in the 36 months prior, immediately before the fellowship. And also the applicant can only have, the fellow can only have a maximum of 8 years of full-time equivalent experience in research, which is measured from the date of award of the first PhD degree. And there are some rules to how this may be extended, as shown here: maternity leave, paternity leave, research career breaks. And I've linked a tool here that you can use if you're unsure. There's a self-assessment tool available, so you can calculate your eligibility if you have had breaks due to the reasons listed here or in the work program. So then award criteria. So this is to show you how the proposals, when evaluated, there's 3 marks you need to meet, which fall under excellence, impact, and implementation. And the way these are weighted is shown at the very bottom. So excellence has the highest impact, so 50% of the score comes from how it meets the mark there, and then respectively 30 and 20 onwards. And these are, well, you can see here what this means in practice, so how excellence is defined. And of course, if you do start to seek to apply for this fellowship, then it's good to go through all of these in detail. But I'll again run through the next. Okay, so as with the doctoral networks, they are ranked and funded in these scientific panels shown in Eugenia's presentation. And the proposals are ranked separately for the European and the global fellowships and in each panel. Maybe a point of interest that a seal of excellence is awarded to proposals that receive a rank of equal to or higher than 85%. So if there is not enough funding, but you have a very high quality proposal, you can get this acknowledgement and perhaps seek for funding from elsewhere with your project that has been assessed as being very good. And also good to know that there's a resubmission restriction, that the same researcher and host institution cannot submit the following year if they received a score of equal to, or sorry, less than 70 in the previous evaluation. So the indicative timeline for the call is that it opens on the 10th of April, and the deadline is on the 11th of September this year. And running through the notification of your results are due in February 2025, and grant agreements signed in April 25. And the indicative budget for the call is 417 and a bit million. So then, if you are interested in applying, what to do? So how to find a host institution? We've pulled together, with the help of my colleagues from France, a list of tips on where to start. So first of all, you will surely have existing professional networks and collaborations, so you can seek to find something through that. Then have a look through publications in your research area. Is there someone there that raises your interest, who you would like to work with? Then good to know there is a Euraccess portal where you can search for hosts, and the link is here, or the MSCA NET program has a matchmaking platform, the link to which is also shown here or given in this presentation. There are partner search announcements on the funding and tenders portal. And of course, companies' profiles on the Enterprise Europe network search platform. Then focusing on the France-Finland bit, there's a ScanR, a search engine for French research and innovation, and this is not a matchmaking platform, but describes what's out there and can help you to find a host institution or a collaborator of interest. And we in Finland have something equivalent called research.fi, which also gives information on research in Finland. And likewise, this is not a matchmaking platform, but just to help you get started with where to look for things that are in your area of interest. And then you identified your hosts. So how to proceed now? Well, contact them, obviously. There's get in touch and explain who you are and why you want to work with them in this institution. So very good to be very clear about your motivation. What the funding instrument that you are thinking of is. So that would, including a link to the call page, for example, is a good way to proceed. Of course, the MSCA is familiar to many, but not to all. And having a short CV and a summary of the project you think you would apply with is recommendable. And make sure you're clear with what you're asking for them. So developing the project or the research proposal is a lot of work, and this is something that then the fellow and the host institution really have to collaborate very tightly with. So it's also very good to be in touch before you get going, so it's clear that you are on the same page with where you want to take it and what your aims are as far as the project is. Then it's good to make sure you're visible in general, that you have, or do you have research pages or a website? And also, obviously, social media can be used to increase visibility. Then from the alternative point of view, if you're a host institution, how to attract postdoctoral candidates. There is a list here. Use your professional networks, French embassy. You can use, you can register in the EURAccess website given previously if you want to offer or to be a host. Likewise, make sure your research pages are up to date. And as mentioned previously, that you are, or it should be clear that you really, the proposal preparation happens with the postdoctoral candidate as underlined and highlighted here. And of course, the advantages or the things that can be done are shown here on the left. You can host a research fellow from a partner lab in your lab, or alternatively send a postdoc from your team to a partner lab. It's good to note, which is here in the yellow box on the bottom left, that you only a single postdoctoral candidate can only submit one proposal per call, but the same supervisor or host institution may submit several proposals in one call. So just so you are aware of that. And finally, that's somewhat of a monstrous slide, but this is a bunch of helpful links and references that are all worthwhile going through if you do decide to apply. And also, well, you'll see that there's a list of national contact points and various guidelines on supervision and the European Charter, and these are all very relevant documents then when preparing the proposal, if you proceed there. And finally, of course, in addition to the links and references, there are people at your disposal out to help you. So there's, I'm the national contact together with my colleague Jenny Heino here in Finland. So please feel free to get in touch with us. There's our email addresses, and Satu Huhasisoho is our delegate. And then the national contacts in France, in addition to Eugenia, who gave the talk here. She has 3 colleagues at the Higher Education and Research Ministry, and they have a shared email address shown here. So that's also a good place to start if looking for Finnish-France cooperation. And obviously research support services at your host organization, at least the ones or have very, very high level know-how of these funding instruments and can surely help you out if you are seeking to have them be your host. And of course, the European Commission MSCA webpage, finally. And with that, I thank you. I maybe ran through very fast, but I hope that was okay. And happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Paula. I can see in the conversation part of Teams that it has generated announcements of opportunities in that respect. And Eugenia, maybe you can have a look also at the Q&A part of Teams, where we had a few more questions about doctoral networks. And in the meantime, I would like to invite Flora Thibaudot, who is a project manager of the Destiny project, a doctoral network at AgroParisTech, to share her experience of such a project.
Hi, can you all hear me?
I hear you very well.
Wonderful. And now you should be able to see the screen as well.
Yes, we see it.
Okay. So, hi everyone. I am representing Destiny and also my colleague who is next to me, Benoit Gabriel. He will also talk a bit more about European Bioeconomy University and other French-Finnish cooperation that our university does. So to begin, I'm going to talk about Destiny, which is the full name is Design and Sustainability Assessment of Innovative Biomass Production Systems and Value Chains in the Bioeconomy. So it is a very long name, we all agree, but basically it is a 4-year joint doctoral network project that started at the beginning of the year. And the overarching goal of Destiny is to provide the knowledge and tools necessary to design sustainable biomass production systems and bio-based value chains from a technological, economic, environmental, and social perspectives through a multidisciplinary approach, and also to highlight key enabling factors of success for these systems. And so here you can see 5 specific objectives of the project, but I would like to highlight the last one. And you can see here it is to train a new generation of young researchers who will become the bioeconomists, and they will be capable of tackling the complexity of sustainable bioeconomy solutions. And now, who is Destiny? Who are we? So Destiny is composed of 6 beneficiaries. So all 6 universities are part of this European Bioeconomy University Alliance that I just mentioned, which my colleague will further elaborate later. And we also have 9 associated partners. Yes. And we have Mesto, who is from Finland. And other than that, we have 8 advisory board members with European Forestry Institute from Finland as well. And so how to achieve our goals? To achieve our goals, 15 training programs were created under 4 interlinked thematic work packages. As you can see the graph here, so basically the training programs, they are multidisciplinary and intersectoral, which means that the 15 recruited PhD students, they will graduate with technical and scientific competencies as well as knowledge in social and natural sciences. And those 15 projects will be awarded by 2 partner universities, which is also part of the joint doctorate rules. And the projects will be co-supervised by at least 2 academic partners and a team of 30 supervisors with extensive academic and valorization records. They're all behind this project. And additionally, to ensure practical relevance of the research, the students will also be hosted by the associate partners that Eugenia mentioned earlier at their premises in the form of short stays or secondments. And lastly, Destiny also has prepared a series of 4 workshops and 3 training schools to make sure that all PhD students have the required theoretical and practical knowledge for their individual research projects. And these will also foster cooperation between the students to improve their practical sustainability competences and to promote hands-on, personal, and transferable skills. And now, let's welcome.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Flora. Hello, everybody. So my name is Benoît Gabriel. I'm a professor with Agro-Paris Tech, so a Paris-based School of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. I'm also the deputy coordinator of Destiny, so I'm on more the scientific side compared to what Flora is doing. And yes, so I think you should be able to see the slides I prepared. So I just wanted to give you a bit of background on where this project came from. And Flora mentioned the EBU, European Bioeconomy University. So this alliance, which now has 8 partners actually, and you saw that there was University of Eastern Finland. So that's our main, let's say, interest today in terms of cooperation with France. And so the idea of this alliance, which is not an alliance in the sense that Eugenia presented, it's the model, let's say, of the university alliances that the European Commission is funding, but we're more of a voluntary alliance for different reasons. And we've been working together since July 2019 on different projects. And the aim is to leverage our resources and activities in education research and innovation and technology transfer. And so we're looking at bioeconomy, which is the economy based on biological resources as opposed to fossil non-renewable resources, let's say. So that's the overarching challenge. And we're looking at the perspectives that Flora already mentioned in terms of environment, economy, and societal aspects. And if I go to the next slide, here. Yes, thanks. So anyway, it's just to say that it was very important to base to the Destiny project we've just seen was based on this alliance, and we sat together since 2019 to design craft our vision, and in terms of leading, supporting the transition to the bioeconomy, and so you see that's kind of a statement provided this. Unique, we hope at European level at least, a model for a future-oriented university that where we would join forces and go into interdisciplinary endeavors and intersectoral collaboration. Well, this is mostly, let's say, or sort of corporate objective. But if we go to the next slide, we can see that we're looking at actions that bridge education, research, and innovation, and we have different projects in that direction. And Destiny as a doctoral network is between education and research, but also looking at innovation, I think, because with the associated partners and from the industry and the bioeconomy players, we're looking into transferring some technologies and innovations to the market, but also training young researchers, as Flora mentioned, and of course, developing new research in terms of sustainable bioeconomy systems. If we go to the next slide, I would just want to showcase, so now I'm infringing into the education project. So the second part of our afternoon, I think, just to say that we have other projects within the Alliance, and this one is about teaching entrepreneurship in the bioeconomy to masters and PhD students. So it's another project where we also work with the colleagues from UEF, and in Finland it's very interesting because they have this strong background in forestry and also in lifelong learning and entrepreneurship, and also online classes, etc. So this cooperation is very valuable from this perspective. And the next slide, the final one, is still another set of projects, and a master's program, Erasmus Mundus joint master's program in the bioeconomy, which involves another Finnish player, which is University of Aalto, and that's led by a colleague of mine named Stéphanie Bromberger, a professor with Agro-Paris Tech. And the last thing is more personal because I used to be active in this another alliance, European Energy Research Alliance. So basically, it's an alliance that was set up to support the strategic energy technology plan of the European Union, which started in 2008. And they have different sub-programs in different types of energy, mostly renewable energy or energy storage. And so I was active in the bioenergy program, and it's still active, this sub-program, and it involves VTT, which is another Finnish organization, research organization, I should say. And there's also CNRS and CEA who are active there. And it's a very also a good place to discuss pre-competitive research agenda and programming and go into projects. And for instance, I led an FP7, so it goes a little bit back in time, but yeah, 8 years ago, I led an FP7 research project with partners from Finland and other countries. So yeah, just to showcase another type of alliances, which are very useful. We also tried at EBU level to foster the postdoctoral scheme that Paola presented. It was harder than the doctoral network, I would say, although we also submitted that one several times. But yeah, it's a very good system. So we're glad that we also have this instrument to foster the cooperation between the different partners of the EBU. So that's all for me. Thank you very much. And we, I think, are open for questions.
Thank you very much, Benoit and Gabriel. And that's a very nice transition with the second session of the webinar about Erasmus+. But maybe I don't know, Genia, if you want to answer shortly, if possible.
Yes, actually, there were some questions in the Q&A, and it's probably easier to answer to them orally. So there was a question on postdoctoral fellowships, but I suppose the person who asked had got the answer with the Paola's presentation. Then it was a question concerning what would you recommend on how to choose from ID and GD. So ID, industrial doctorate, and joint doctorate. So I would recommend to choose according to the topic and particularity of your project. So if you have if you are in a research area with important interest from the industrial actors, where typically it would be expected that the industrial actors participate to doctoral training. So maybe it might be relevant to choose ID, industrial doctorate scheme, and joint doctorate only. I mean, it's interesting if you want to deliver joint or double diplomas. It's up to you to see if it's relevant for you or not. And then there was also a question that would be probably rather for Matthew, because the person who asked it is looking for a fellowship to spend. It's a Finnish student looking for a fellowship to spend 1 to 3 months in France. And so in the frame of Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, there is no funding for individual and short mobility of PhD students, but only doctoral programs led by different research organizations. But maybe in the frame of Maupertuis or some other funding provided by the embassy, there is some possibility.
This difficulty to speak because of my voice, but we have a collaboration with the Magnus Eneroth Foundation in Finland, and the Magnus Eneroth Foundation is open to funding co-tutel thesis or let's say an international component to the ongoing thesis. And so for PhD students, that's a yearly opportunity to ask for funding for 6 months, 1 year, or the full duration of the thesis, and spend that time in the other country, in France, I mean, in particular. So I hope it answers the questions. And so 5 minutes late, that's not so bad. I would like to share the floor with Mathieu and Sophie. Probably that the Erasmus component is not always in our mind when we speak about scientific collaboration, but there are also in this program opportunities, sometimes that are quite close of the spirit of Horizon Europe, and sometimes a little bit different in the way it is handled. And I'm happy to have Anne-Sophie and Mathieu to further explain what are those opportunities.
We'll try to do it. Anne-Sophie, I let you share the presentation. And just to answer, you will all see that your last question regarding PhD student mobility, you can do it with Erasmus.
Just a second, it's loading the presentation. You should be able to see it just in a couple of minutes. But good afternoon to everyone from me as well while we're waiting. But now it's, I think, on show for everyone, the presentation.
Yeah, it's okay. So thank you, Anne-Sophie. So let's perhaps introduce ourselves. So I'm Mathieu Breton-Zamareno. I work at the promotion department at the French Erasmus Agency. And so I will speak today with my colleague of the Finnish National Agency for Education, who is in charge of Erasmus program in Finland. So Anne-Sophie Okanen. I've tried to say it right.
You managed it well.
So let me share just to remind you also, Erasmus is the other program for regarding university and education in Europe. So it's the education program for education, training, youth, and sport of the European Commission. It's one of the best known European programs with the agriculture policy on Europe program. So it's a program which is managed by the European Commission, who set up with the Parliament and the Council all the information. It's implemented by different actors. So European Education and Culture Executive Agency in Brussels, who is in charge of managing all and supervising all the program in Europe, and in charge also of some what we call centralized actions, like Erasmus Mundus, for example, were a common call for all Europe. After we have 33, well, a bit more for some countries, but national Erasmus agencies were in charge of implementing in their own country the program. So dealing with some direct action and promoting all actions. So we have one in Finland, we have two in France, one for education and training and one for youth and sport. Afterwards, we have what we call national Erasmus offices, which are in our neighboring countries, mainly Western Balkans, South Mediterranean, and Eastern Partnership, were also in charge of people working for the European Commission and in charge of promoting the program with these countries. And after, the European Commission has set up a national focal point in the rest of the world also. And of course, all of our guide is our Bible, the Erasmus program guide with setups. So what can we do with Erasmus? We can study abroad, carry out a traineeship abroad, having teaching activities, training, job shadowing, which is what we called in our vocabulary key action 1, which is individual mobility. The mobility you may all know as a classical one. It just needs a bilateral partnership, so Finnish and French partners can cooperate directly. No need to other partners. The second one is regarding collaboration between institutions, exchanging best practices, trying to innovate, to develop new tools or better dams. So it's what we call the key action 2, which is cooperating among organization institutions. And this one needs a multilateral partnership. You will see that within nearly all Erasmus Plus action, you need to be at least 3 organizations from 3 program countries. If we look at this webinar, particular webinar, you are already French, France, and Finland. So 2 partners. So you just need 1 more to start. So it's at least a really good start. And the last one is the one regarding spreading knowledge around European Union knowledge, history, policies regarding teaching and research also, which are Jean Monnet actions. And these ones, apart from the networks for Jean Monnet, don't need any partnerships. So this is what we can do with Erasmus in our training. Here, main overview of Erasmus for higher education. So the entrance ticket is what we call the Erasmus Charter for Higher Education, which all Finnish higher institutions education have. And normally, no, not normally, but many French higher education system is quite more complicated than the Finnish one. But all French university and School of Engineering and so on have an Erasmus Charter. So you see the three main actions: key action 1 for mobility of individuals, Jean Monnet action, and the key action 2 with all the different actions we have in it. So partnership cooperation, Erasmus Mundus, capacity building, European universities, which is an Erasmus action, which many people forgot, but it's an Erasmus action in it. So we will just, in this presentation, we have just chosen just to present some of them, because we have around 13 different actions for higher education. We can take an all afternoon, a full day to present all of them. And just to remember that we have 4 priorities in the program, which are common. We may focus also in Western Europe, you'll find them. So it's inclusion and diversity, to open the program to the students who have more less opportunities, but also people who are not, or in some regions or some particular parts. Digital transformation, which is starting to deal with the future of transformation, digital transformation, use of technical information also for Europe. Environmental transition, which is dealing with climate change and preparing climate change on it, which, for example, BioSeb and AgroParisTech project is dealing with. And the last one, but not the least, is civic engagement and promoting the values of European Union. So Erasmus Plus with who? So of course we have 2 kind of countries: the program countries, which are the 27 member states of the Union, and we have 6 countries who are associated to the program, which are Norway, Iceland, Liechtenstein, North Macedonia, Turkey, and Serbia. You will see that they are not the same as Horizon Europe associated programs, associated countries. For example, the UK is not an associated country with Erasmus. And the rest of the world countries are what we call in our words, third countries not associated with the program. What you have to keep in mind is that now Erasmus is largely widely open to the whole world. You can do mobilities and projects with the whole world, not only within program countries. We'll focus on one thing that you can use, is what we call key action 131, which is what you may all know is the classical historical mobility scheme under Erasmus. So what is it? It's fundings which are granted to higher education institutions from the national agencies, for who all higher education institutions, learners and staff, all of them, academic, technical, administrative staff, to do what? Post mobilities, study period, placement abroad, combine both, teaching and training, also blended internship programs. We'll come back to it later. And also it allows you to invite staff from public or private organizations which are not awarded with NHA holders. For example, a researcher from the French CNRS can be invited to a Finnish institution under this scheme. And to go where? So to the 33 program countries or the rest of the world, with some limit, of course, because 20% of the budget can be used to go out. So the brief overview of mobility types in this action. So we have mobility for studies, when you send a student to spend a semester in another university. So it's a mobility from 2 to 12 months. The same for student mobility for traineeships, sending a student to do a placement abroad. It can be a research lab, a company, and any organization around the world, so for 2 to 12 months. Students can also have short-term mobility, which is quite new since this programmation. So it's a physical mobility of 5 to 30 days if the student have a virtual component, virtual activities combined to this short-term mobility. After we have staff mobility, so staff for teaching assignment, a Finnish teaching staff comes to France for the teaching period from 2 days to 2 months. Same for French teaching staff to Finland. Staff mobility, so it includes academic staff for training also, but also technical and administrative staff for professional development. It can be a training something part, but also job shadowing for 2 days to 2 months. And something that people forgot, but PhD students are quite particular in Erasmus because they can benefit from both schemes. They can be student because they are PhD students, so training. So they can they can realize a study mobility period, for example, for 3 months, going to Finland from France for studying for 3 months, like any other students. But they can also have this short-term mobility between 5 to 30 days, with no obligation of short-term mobility. It was something that universities have quite pushed from the Commission, but it's now possible. So you can send a student, a PhD student, for a study period or traineeship abroad as a student from 5 to 30 days with no other need. And also, as many PhD students sometimes are also staff because they have a contract with university, they can also, regarding the status, benefit from staff mobility also. So one thing can be used also regarding research and cooperation is what we call the Erasmus Blended Intensive Program. What it's an Erasmus Blended Intensive Program? It's more or less a summer school with virtual activities before or after. It's to develop innovative cross-curricular teaching practice activities with online activities. So it's a program that has to have at one physical mobility period from 5 to 30 days, and virtual component after or before this period. It's a partnership organized between 3 institutions from 3 different countries. So once again, we have already France and Finland. You just need one more to develop this program. It's open to all students and staff. It has to have at least 10 mobile learners coming to the countries to it. And the funding for this mobility is already done through the funding that university get. An example, for example, we have 3 partners, which is the minimum: a French coordinator, which is the host, a Finnish partner, and a Spanish partner. They target staff for the use, for example, of digital tools in language teaching. So they decide a program, 10 days, period 1 with 30 days of virtual activities, and a second period in France with physical mobility, with our practical presentation and so on. So the French institution applies with its funding each year in February and applies to the French agency, say, I want to organize a blended intensive mobility. As it's okay for us, we give what we call organization support, which helps the consortium to organize the mobility with, for example, to rent some rooms, to have some pedagogical development and so on. So it's between 4,000 and 8,000 euros. So the Finnish select 6 participants and finance the mobility to France, the Spanish 5, and the French 6 people. So we have 17 participants, and we have our minimum of 10 mobile participants. Just a short example of an already done on food sustainability and climate change between the member of European Alliance on food production issues, with an online course visits, a study visit, also on site, and on site for 5 days. And you have the presentation afterwards. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mathieu. And now we will, after Mathieu's excellent presentation, talk a bit more about the key action 2, so cooperation among organizations and institutions. So key action 2, when we talk about key action 1, it's more mobility and focused on individual persons moving, and key action 2 is again more the cooperation, as I said, between organizations and institutions through Erasmus Plus financing. And depending on which kind of action within this key 2 action, it's cooperation often between European countries, but also with a wider perspective. And in some actions, there are more opportunities to work also with partners from countries outside of Europe. And for this action, it's really important to boost internationalization activities and find innovative approaches. And the key action 2 focus is especially to contribute significantly to the priorities of the Erasmus Plus program. So a bit what was shown for you earlier. So inclusivity, digitalization, sustainability, and active participation of citizens. So we will look a bit closer first at one of the key action projects, which is KA2 Action Erasmus Plus Cooperation Partnerships. Why we start off with this action that is aimed at higher education is for that this is one of the decentralized actions. So it's handled at the national agency. So the applications are given to the Finnish or the French agency. So what are these cooperation partnerships for? They're there to develop higher education in Europe. Often in the projects, it's to develop a new curricula within the field or tools, practices, and competences within those fields. And doing this in a European and international setting, and also help the higher education organizations to get more international. It is meaning to be a cooperation together, a joint effort to come up with these tools and have the projects. Interdisciplinary is also very strongly added to these projects, as we are also aiming at innovation within education cooperation. Also, cross-sectorality is important for these actions or these projects, and it's the cooperation for partnerships, you have them on higher education, but they are also in all the other education sectors. So when you're considering what to apply for, it's important what is the context and content and meaning of your project, depending on from which sector you will apply for your financing. But still, cross-sectoral is important, so you can have also non-academic organizations as partners, for example, in your projects. In these projects, needs and objectives are important, so all the different partners' needs and should be considered and explained in your application. And also always the context of your different partners and therefore their needs. And as I said, we are looking for innovative results in the projects and also for impact. So the project should have a big impact even after your project has ended. And of course, as I said in the beginning, these key A2 actions, also cooperation partnerships, are important when it comes to policy priorities, and through these policy priorities, developing education in higher education in Europe. So, for example, if we see from the program guide this year, higher education has had policy priorities that should be considered in the projects, for example, promoting interconnected higher education systems, stimulating innovative learning and teaching practices, developing a STEAM approach in higher education and foster women participation in STEM, rewarding excellence in learning, teaching, and skills development, and support digital and green capabilities of higher education sector, and building inclusive higher education systems, for example. These were some of the policy priorities for 2024. What then, how can you do cooperation partnerships together? Well, the actual project is between 12 and 36 months, and you need at least 3 organizations from 3 different countries. So as Mathieu said, if you look at this webinar today, you already have 2 countries you can have in your project, so you need to find a third one. The countries you have need to be EU member states and or Norway, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Republic of North Macedonia, Serbia, and Turkey. And these are the third countries associated to the program. There is a possibility to also have third countries not associated to the program with you in the project, but then it's really important that they give the project that added value, and there has to be a specific reason to bring this partner in. The deadline this year was for these were on the 5th of March 2024, and next year will probably look around the same dates. So always in the end of February, beginning of March is the deadline for these kinds of projects. And if we look a bit on how many projects there are per country, you can see what has happened for Finland. There has been quite a lot of applications, and around 8 applications per year can be financed. And from these applications, you can see that the coordinating institution is then always from Finland. So when there's a project that is coordinated by Finland, the project applies for funding from Finland. And then if the coordinator in the project would be from France, they apply financing from France. And here you can see also the number for France when it comes to cooperation partnerships. And here we can see that there is a bigger pressure when it comes to getting financing for cooperation partnerships in Finland than in France at the moment. So that maybe when you're planning a project, you can consider and maybe apply with the French coordinator instead of the Finnish coordinator. But this, of course, depends on your project and what is working for you, because a good project can get financing both from, or not both, but either from France or Finland. It's a question of finding that right project idea that really you want to bring forward. Yes, and just to show you how a project can look that has been financed in 2021 from Finland. There is an example where you have the coordinator from Finland, which is Turun yliopisto, and have a French partner, Université Dijon-Bourgogne, and it's on inclusive digital learning, Dig2 Inc. And here we can see that many of the policy priorities I said is also looked into, taken into consideration. So it's enhancing the digital capabilities for students that come from lower economic backgrounds, and helping them, or actually helping their teachers get the competences, how they can then enhance the students' competences as well. So this is just an example on how what it can look like if you actually have a project within cooperation partnerships. Then we will move. Then here you can see the links. So as Mathieu mentioned, the Erasmus program guide is what's guiding all of us. So if you're considering applying, please look at both the partnership cooperation and cooperation partnerships. And there's also a handbook for the how you will build up your budget with the lump sum model, which can be also if you have applied for Horizon financing, so it's quite similar. But then we will move onwards to more KA2 actions, and then we will move to the centralized actions in higher education. So these are, it's meant that these you apply from the European Commission directly. So we as national agencies are here just to guide you and give you information on these actions, but the actual application is directly to the Commission. And here you can see all the different KA2 actions. So you have Erasmus Mundus, you have European universities, capacity building in higher education, forward-looking project, teacher academies, alliances for innovation, and then the Jean Monnet, which is not a KA2, but still open for higher education. And the same applies to virtual exchanges, which is also an action that is applied for from the Commission, but is under the KA1 sort of heading. When we will look a bit closer at three of these action types, but here I also want to lift up alliances for innovation, because this is a action where actually when we looked at the connections between Finnish and French institutions, there were quite many projects that had both of the countries within them already, and there's cooperation within that action quite a lot already. The centralized actions are quite big projects, and applying for them can be quite complex. So my recommendation is that if you get interested in one of the actions, look at the program guide and visit both the commissions and the national agencies pages for even more information. So you can see if your project idea will be the right one for which action. But I will start off with talking about European Universities Initiative. This is quite a new initiative within Erasmus Plus that started, the first application round was in 2019. And the idea for the European universities and university alliances came actually from President Macron in one of his speeches, and now it is a program within the Erasmus Plus program. What then are European University Alliances? They are transnational alliances for higher education institutions that are paving the way towards universities of the future. So these are alliances where the idea is that European universities together test different ideas, and these alliances are driving change within the higher education sector and policy in Europe. And these alliances also are flagship initiatives that are mentioned in the European strategy for universities, and are a big part also in reaching the European higher education area. These alliances promote European values and identity by increasing the cooperation between universities. And as I already said, they're there to significantly improve the quality and performance and attractiveness and competitiveness of European higher education, and having really in-depth collaboration. Right now, the aim of the Commission is to have 60 of these European University Alliances by the mid-2024, with over 500 higher education institutions involved. The last application round ended in the end of January. It was the application round 5. And after 4 rounds there is right now 50 EUAs, and after this 5th one, we will see hopefully 60 alliances that have been reached by then. Who can be part of the European universities? It's the universities from member states and third countries associated to the program, as well as higher education institutions from the Western Balkans. In these alliances, geographical balance is one of the criteria in the evaluating when they evaluate the applications. So this means that in many cases, these alliances are quite broad and include many European countries. And the average size right now of them is about 9 different higher education institutions per alliance. Their building blocks are long-term joint strategies. So even though the financing has been for about 4 years per alliance, they do strategies that are at least 10 years within the future. So they're really trying to think on how to develop joint administration, joint projects, joint strategies within that alliance. And one of the aims is finding Europe intra-university campuses, so that a student in one of the alliance universities will be able to study and learn at all the campuses within the alliance. And they do work through knowledge creating teams. There has been some related application rounds for these alliances. There have been one Horizon Europe application round 2020 that was meant for these alliances, and some KA True policy application rounds, especially aimed at the legal status for these alliances, and one that looks into a joint European degree label. And why these are so important maybe for this webinar as well, even though there won't be a new application round for new alliances, but really many of you are already probably members of European university alliances, and of the 50 networks that we have today, 43 have French universities as members, and in some there are even 2 French, and again Finland is member of 19 university alliances. Of these alliances, 14 are alliances where you both have Finnish and French members. So if you think about cooperating within any actions or mobility, then you can start off with maybe checking if you are a member in one of these 14 alliances, because that means that you already have a connection to build on through your university alliances you are members of. And actually have good examples coming up here. So here is the second page where you can see the other alliances with Finnish and French partners. Then from European universities, we will move all over to Erasmus Mundus action, which is an action with an international dimension. And the action has two different financing options. The aim is to have build Erasmus Mundus joint master's programs, where you have at least 3 European partners within that program, and they give a joint program. They can either give a double or joint degree in the end of the program, and the programs get financing from the European Commission. One program can get approximately maximum 5 million euros for different intakes of students. And the money is distributed, that some of the money is for administration for the university, but the biggest part of this financing goes for grants to students that take part in the program. And many of the students come from around the world. So these programs are seen as flagship programs within Europe within academia, and it's very competitive to get this the label and financing for your joint program. If you're not ready with your partners to directly apply for this funding, you can also apply for the Erasmus Mundus Design Measures. This is a smaller grant that you can apply for. It's a 15-month long project, and with this grant, you can start your planning for a joint program. So it gives you the opportunity to really look into the if it's possible or not with your partners to begin a joint program. And it's aimed at especially newcomers within joint programs or Erasmus Mundus program. But a newcomer means both. It can be the field you are in that it hasn't been before within Erasmus Mundus, or that your institution hasn't been able to partake before. Just a quick look. We looked what joint programs we do have right now during this Erasmus program, and we have 3 programs actually that has received financing during this program period. And I know there are also some programs running still with the previous program financing. And actually, one of these programs is financed with or coordinated by a Finnish institution, and 2 of them are coordinated by French institutions. For example, CODAS, which you see here, the first program with the Finnish coordinator, was actually built on previous collaboration, and they had already a joint program running that they then could lift up for a Erasmus Mundus grant when they applied. So they had their contacts already when starting apply. Yes. Then the third action we will look into is capacity building in higher education. So this is especially for fostering capacity in higher education in partner countries, and partner countries that are located in the global south. But to be able to apply for the project, you need at least 2 European countries and higher education institutions from Europe as well in that application. So in that way, it's a really good way to collaborate with Finnish and French institutions, and then collaborate with outside of Europe with the global dimension. The need for these for these projects should always come from the global south, so the partner country institutions. So that's important to remember. But then the knowledge sharing and so on, of course, comes often from Europe, but can also come from the global south partner. There are 3 different strands in capacity building project for higher education. There is fostering access to cooperation in higher education, which is aimed especially at newcomers or new fields that hasn't taken part in capacity building projects in Erasmus Plus before. And there you have from 200,000 up to 400,000 budget. Then you have partnership for transformation in higher education, where you have a bit bigger projects, and the requirements are a bit more strict. And then you have the structural reform projects that one of the requirements is also to have a representation from the ministry, from your partner from the global south. So when you're setting up a project, it's really important to consider what kind of project you want to do, and which of these strands is the best one for your option. As well as these strands, you can have projects that are national projects within certain regions, or you can have multi-country projects within one of the application regions, and you can have multi-regional projects as well. When I talk about regions, I talk about regions where how you apply for the funding. So there's a region that's called Western Balkans. You have a region called, for example, Sub-Saharan Africa. You have a region that is called Latin America. And they all have a bit different aims and budgets. The biggest budget is for collaboration with Sub-Saharan Africa, according to also the European Union strategy, and from there on there's smaller budgets. I think the smallest budget is for cooperation with the Caribbean. The partner countries are, as I said, from the global south. So within this, the Finnish and French can't collaborate, for example, with US or Japan. The budget is quite big, so almost 100 million to apply for, and the budget for one project is between then 200,000 to 1 million, and they can be from 24 to 48 months. These capacity building projects, this is for higher education, but there are also possibilities for capacity building in vocational education and sports. So if your higher education institution are involved in these sectors, you can maybe consider also projects with that kind of financing. We actually, when we looked, even though Finland has been quite active and received this program period quite many coordinated projects, I think we now have 25 here in Finland. So that's maybe also a good tip for French colleagues to remember that there can be capacity in Finland to get these projects. We found actually 2 projects that had received financing where there are both French and Finnish partners. Haaga-Hälia ammattikorkeakoulu and Université Côte d'Azur. And that maybe what I want to highlight here is actually that these two partners have found each other through the European University Alliances. So they are from the same alliance and have used this cooperation to get then other financing as well, not only European universities. Yes, and then I will go over to Mathieu again.
The mic on is usually better. Thank you, Anne-Sophie. So just here you can have a full vision of who can apply to funding when. So you see our main calendar for funding for European actions are February, March, quite busy period for us. But this time of the webinar can be a good way to start thinking. If you have already a Maupertuis funding from this year or last year, can already start thinking in what to do next, also to have it. And just to say once again, you're already two, and in many parts, you need to at least be 3 European partners, so it can be easy. Where to find some resources? So as we already mentioned it, the main one is the Erasmus Annual Program Guide, where you find all the information for the program. Of course, there are also the European Commission specific website, but we can also invite you to look at our respective national agency website. We try to summarize, to put it more clear and in a shortest way, the actions you can find on both agencies. And of course, if you want to have some inspiration to look at where people are going to, you can also have the Erasmus Project Result platform, when you can search people who are from countries or actions or different topics on what projects. Your contacts, so your first contact should be your home institution international relations office. You can ask them, go to see them, say, I want to apply, I want to do something to do with Finland or on. And of course, both our agencies are open, available to answer and to try to help you the best we can, just to do it. So that's all from our part for this this session.
Thank you very much, Mathieu and Anne-Sophie, for this very comprehensive presentation of Erasmus Plus interesting programs for in the context of that webinar. I see that there are 2 questions maybe not already answered. One from Srenath Pillai in the discussion part. Do you want to take it, Anne-Sophie or Mathieu?
Yeah, just let me check why I have it, because I don't see it. Or if you can read it to us, perhaps we can try to check, because I don't see it.
Our students were invited by our partner to participate, and 2 of our students are interested to participate. Since it was last-minute notification, we are unable to integrate the BIP into the academic curriculum. So can they still participate, or is it not possible with us giving them the credits?
So the BIP programs are normally structured between at least 3 partners, but they can be students from outside this partnership to be part of. And Anne-Sophie, just to agree with me, normally you should, what's important for the European Commission is that the program, the mobility student has done outside, is recognized within its credits. So it's up to your institution to check if the student mobility will be recognized within his own curriculum. It doesn't have to be in it. If there is some credit, some units you can give them, it will be okay for us. No, Anne-Sophie, you agree with me?
Yes, I agree. So they should receive a transcript of records from the organizing institution, but you need to recognize the exchange within the learning agreement you will sign, and then you should also be able to do a transfer of credits to your own institution. So it doesn't have to be part of your own curriculum in a way, but you need to recognize the credits. I hope this opens it up. Yeah.
And if you have any doubt, just contact your manager, the person, because in each agency, maybe in France or in Finland, you have people who are managing your contract. So do not hesitate in contacting them if you have any doubt in eligibility questions.
Yeah, and also the international office often can help with this,
yeah.
How the credit transferred can be made, even though it's not a course part of their curriculum.
And we have a question of Misha. I work at the CNRS in France for European research infrastructures, which are based in Finland, as a communication officer. My temporary contract is ending at the end of October 2024. Is there still a way to join a program for a limited duration for the whole month of October?
So if it's an Erasmus question, if you have a contract with a Finnish institution, you must have a contract in Finnish institution. So if it's end at the end of October, if you have still a contract with a Finnish institution, it will be okay for us. You have to be a staff at the moment you during the whole mobility period you have.
And and it's your home institution, so to say, the Finnish institution where you work, for example, who does decide on if you are allowed to be sent on that exchange or so on. So it have to go always through your institution first.
Are there any other questions before we close the webinar? So there is a question of Hélène. Would you foster SMEs participation generally?
I'm not sure I look at the question. Regarding Erasmus, the implication of SMEs, it's always a good thing. And it's in all European programs, or in Europe, on all the participation of SMEs is quite encouraged. It's a good thing in all programs.
And regarding the MSCA, the SMEs participation is also strongly encouraged.
Yeah, you will see that even if we have not the same budget, not the same general direction, at least we have the same common goal and common priorities, because we are all working for the European Commission. So
okay, so I propose to conclude, to close the webinar. So thank you very much to all the speakers. Thank you for all that information. It was quite comprehensive, and I guess maybe in some cases some time to look at the slides and ask any further questions to the speakers after the webinar may be useful. So do not hesitate. In general, I guess you are available to answer the questions. We will share the slides. And yes, I hope that this kind of information can give ideas for either a next Maupertuis application, because what we like in Maupertuis is to strengthen the collaboration, be it scientific or more institutionalized. And at the European level, there are tools that are always good to look at, because they show the main trends, and they show also the quality standards that are promoted currently. and it can help both the bilateral collaboration and also start from a bilateral collaboration to develop into a more Europeanized project. So I hope it can be a useful material for your next applications, be it Maupertuis or at the European level directly. So thank you very much to all the speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.